rallyfm.net.
Well, it seems an appropriate time to say good afternoon and welcome to Bushy Park. This will be a sort of two-part broadcast. This just to update you with the latest information we have on the progress of the Caribbean's biggest annual international motorsport event, Sol Rally Barbados, which will come to a conclusion here at Bushy Park with the Shell V-Power Super Special in the not overly distant future. The latest information we have takes us up to stage 19 out of the 24, and we're going to try and download some more information from rallyscoring.com over the next sort of couple of hours as the cars start arriving back here for the conclusion of the timed elements of Sol Rally Barbados, but also, of course, to participate in the Super Special. That's not included within the, in the overall timing of the event, but in order to be considered eligible for overall classification, competitor must start the Super Special. I suppose just a little bit of a recap for those of you who may have been out watching today, but not necessarily been in touch with direct information in terms of times and progress of different drivers. Best way to start doing that, I suppose, is to have a look at overnight classification after the 12 out of the 14 stages. I have it here. After the 12 out of the 14 stages that were run yesterday, 2 were cancelled. One of the cane fields was cancelled. That was the second uphill one, following the accident involving Roger Skeet's Subaru Impreza WRC S12. Everybody was okay, although I know that Roger had a rather sore hand and perhaps might have participated today, but apparently not. Chris Meek, I can tell you, is on stage 23. Malvern, we're just picking that up now on the Dual-Orbis GPS tracking here. So he's gone in now to the penultimate stage of the day. And so although we're running a little bit late, the rescheduling of the event to bring 14 stages into Saturday and only 10 today should at least mean that we're not running the end of the Super Special in the dark like what we were last year. So overnight the position was after the early leader of the event having been Roger Skeet, who suffered from 2 dramas yesterday, one of which was the car failing to start thanks to a dead battery in service, which rendered him OTL. But subsequent to that, of course, there was the accident in Canefield. The top 10 overnight, Chris Meek, last year's winner, and his Northern Irish co-driver Paul Nagel. Total time was 34:13:47. Second, the man who finished second to Meek last year, Paul Burton in Windrush, 34:34:60. So there was about 21 seconds or so between them. Third, England's Kevin Proctor, looking as though he was well on his way to his first podium finish on this event. He's been fifth twice in the past. He was another 39 seconds behind Bird. Paul Bourne was fourth, having only on the very final stage of the day even got into the top 3 stage times once. He'd had a burst damper all day, and that had affected the performance of his S9 somewhat. Fifth overnight, Trevor Manning. He was another 6 seconds behind Paul Bourne. Sixth overnight, Jeff Panton of Jamaica, another 5 seconds behind Manning. Seventh, Roger Hill, another second behind Jeff Panton. Eighth, we were on the highest placed of the two-wheel drive cars, the top 10 completed by Barry Gale and modified 8A leader Neil Armstrong, with Jeff Knoll just outside the top 10, leading Group N from England's Rob Swan and Trinidad or Jamaica's, whichever you choose, John Powell. Stiller was leading S11, sandwiched in between those two in 13th place. What's been happening today? We've had, up to the latest results I've got here, a further 5 stages, the breakfast stages, the morning stages, twice through Digicel Malvern, the wrong way round, which is the short way, just 3 kilometres, and twice through Red Bull Kendal. All 4 stages ran, which in recent years is a bit of a record in this event, and so great praise to the men on the ground there, stage commanders, clerk of the course, for enabling that to happen. And certainly as far as Kendal was concerned, spectators as well, abiding by instructions and helping the event run as smoothly as possible. Chris Meek, Paul Bird and Paul Bourne, the top three on the first stage at Malvern, so the overall remained the same, Meek, Bird and Proctor. On the first Kendal, where Paul Bourne was clocked at a fastest speed of 196 kilometres an hour, it was Paul Bird who went fastest, with Meek third fastest, Bourne second, and that enabled Bird to take a little bit out of the lead, only a couple of seconds though. But what it did do, because Kevin Proctor from England didn't have such a good first Kendal, Paul Bourne moved up to third place, demoting Proctor to fourth. Over the next 2 or 3 stages, Chris Meek fastest on the second Malvern, the second Kendal, Paul Bird fastest on the first other way round Malvern, which is the sort of 5 and a bit kilometre one, with Chris Meek second and Paul Bourne third. So the overall, after 19 stages, there have been other bits of shuffling as well further down the order. A good morning and early afternoon run for Roger Hill has moved him up the order as well. He was 7th overnight, he is now up to 5th. So after 19 stages, that was the first of the stages after the lunch halt here at Bushy Park. Chris Meek leading with a total time of 45:51.29. Paul Bird second, just under 19 seconds behind him. Paul Bourne third, 16 seconds behind Bird. Kevin Proctor fourth, 10 seconds behind Bourne. Roger Hill fifth, 15 seconds behind Proctor, but only 3 in front of Trevor Manning, who's now 6th. The man who suffered a bit this morning, both with grip and a stall in the first Kendal stage, Jeff Panton of Jamaica, has slipped down to 7th, another 7 seconds behind Trevor Manning. Barry Gale moves up to 8th, a minute or so behind Jeff Panton. Neil Armstrong is now 9th, 20 seconds behind Gale, and Jeff Knoll is 10th, another 45 seconds behind Neil Armstrong. And the reason there are new people in the top 10 is that Ian Warren had a bit of a disaster on the first run through Kendal, where he clipped the chicane. You know, as you're coming downhill towards the duck ponds to do the right and left, there's been a chicane sited there in order to cut the top speed of cars coming down into that very heavily populated couple of corners. We discovered that a Suzuki Swift is probably about 3 inches wider on either side than a Peugeot 206, which is what he's been nipping through that chicane in recent years. And not only did he send the chicane barrier flying, we make it up with those ordinary see-through spectator barriers, but he also damaged his drive shaft on that side, and that cost him a significant amount of time.
rallyfm.net